Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. Thanks so much for joining me on Scrapbook.com's channel today. With autumn just around the corner, I thought it would be fun to make a pretty fall card. Here are some of the main products I'll be using. Pretty Pink Posh's Build a Monster die set. This set is so much fun. I also have Scrapbook.com's Autumn Leaves dies. And for pattern paper, I'll be using the brand new Snow Days paper pad. I'm showing you the A2 size, but it's also available in 6x8. Some of the colored cardstock I'll be using is from Scrapbook.com's Daybreak Smooth paper pad. And I'll also be using the brand new Magnetic Magic Mat. And if you're interested in any of the products I use in this video, I do have links in the description box below. Starting with the Autumn Leaves die set, I'll remove all of the leaf dies. And I selected 3 of the cardstock colors from the Daybreak paper pad. Sort of a rusty red, yellow, and orange. I cut down the cardstock pieces so I have 3 narrow strips, just big enough for the leaf images. I'll place all of the cardstock pieces on the magnetic mat, and I have the magnetic mat face up. On the back side, it's the regular magic mat. Now I'll place all of the leaf dies on top, and you can see they're held in place with that magnetic mat. No need to tape those dies down. As much as I love using Scrapbook.com's mint tape, their new magnetic magic mat is a game changer. So now I'll run it through my die cut machine. I'm using Spellbinder's Platinum 6 machine. I have the black color that's exclusive to Scrapbook.com. And I'm using the regular sandwich you would use for dies. So I have the platform base A and B, 1 acrylic plate C, and then also the magnetic magic mat. Now I'll pop out all of the die cuts, and I'm putting them in one of Scrapbook.com's stack and sort trays. This is the smaller size. They're great for organizing all your small die cut pieces or embellishments. For the die cuts that didn't just pop out, I'm using the piercing tool that's included on the Craft Pro Pick tool. To give the autumn leaves that lovely golden shine, I'm using Scrapbook.com's metallic gold ink. To add that tiny bit of ink along the edge of the leaves, I'm using Scrapbook.com's sponge dauber. Fits perfectly on the end of my finger. And one at a time, I'll go through all of the leaves. The color doesn't show up a lot on video, but in person it has this beautiful golden shine. Off screen, I did cut out a second set of leaves since I want lots of beautiful autumn leaves on my card. I'm doing all of the inking on a cut down version of Scrapbook.com's white silicone mat. This was originally a 12x12 size, and I just cut about 1/4 of it off. It's perfect to do that little bit of ink blending or assembling die cuts. That way I don't get adhesive and ink all over my workspace. I will be using several shades of brown cardstock, and all of them are included in the Neutrals pack by Concord and Ninth. I selected the sand color, and I'm cutting a little hillside using a die that's included on Scrapbook.com's Pumpkin House die set. So after cutting that out, I'll add a little bit of ink along the top edge of the hillside using Distress Oxide Ground Espresso color. And I grabbed another sponge dauber to do the inking. For the background of my card, using the wood grain pattern paper that's included in the Snow Days collection, I cut this piece to 4 1/8 of an inch by 5 3/8 of an inch. I'll put adhesive on the back of this little hillside piece using Scrapbook.com's Deluxe Adhesive Roller. And I did cut that hill piece just a little bit wider than the pattern paper panel. After adhering it down, I'll simply flip it over, use my scissors, and cut off the overhang. Now I'll layer this piece on some dark brown cardstock, and this dark brown color is Espresso by Concord and Ninth. And that piece is A2 size. 4¼ inches by 5½ inches. I'll put more adhesive on the back and add my card front onto a card base. From the pumpkin house die set, I also cut out the tree image, and the cardstock color is Cocoa from Concord and Ninth. Now this is a really small tree, so instead I'm turning it into a branch, and I'll be adhering it in the upper left-hand corner. I'm also trimming off one of the small branches on the tree. I'll lay it on the card without adhesive. I have the very bottom of the trunk going off the edge of my card. I'll flip over the card, use a pair of scissors, and trim off the overhang. Then I'll put Artis glue on the back and adhere my tree branch in the upper left-hand corner. So now I'll set aside the card and start working on the monster. I've already gone ahead and cut out all of the die cut pieces for my monster. The pink color for the body and legs is pattern paper from the Snow Days collection. I use white cardstock for the belly of the monster, but I don't want it white, so I am adding some color. I have Distress Oxide Aged Mahogany ink. I'm using another sponge dauber. The nice thing about the small sponge daubers, I bought the case that includes, I think it's 40 sponge daubers, so you can have a different one for each color. I also added a little bit of ink along the outside of the body. I decided that belly portion needed to be just a little bit darker, so I'll go back and add a little more ink. Then finally, I'll add just a tiny bit of ink at the bottom of the monster's legs. Now I'll clean up the silicone mat so I can start assembling the monster. The Build-A-Monster die set from Pretty Pink Posh has lots of different options for eyes, horns, feet, legs. The possibilities are endless for creating a fun variety of monsters, and I love that you can use the monsters year-round. After attaching the belly, now I'll attach the legs, and I'm putting just a tiny bit of Artis glue on the top portion of the legs, then placing the body on top. Now I'll add the arms, and my little monster's arms will be reaching up. There are 3 different options for smiles or frowns, I guess, for the monster. I selected the one that has 3 teeth. I cut it out from white cardstock. And using Scrapbook.com's black ink roller pen, I'll fill in the smile portion of the mouth. So I'm very carefully going along that bottom edge, and I'm doing it on a scrap piece of cardstock. Another option, you could cut out a second piece, one from black cardstock and then the other from white. Then use a pair of scissors and trim off the teeth and then adhere them on that black piece or vice versa. I found a black marker was very easy to use. Now off screen, I did go along that very edge with another black marker, just making sure to get good coverage. Now I'll hold the mouth using a pair of reverse tweezers, add Artis glue on the back, and adhere the mouth with the 3 teeth on my monster. Next, I'll add the eyes, and since it's a monster, I have 2 different sizes of eyes. I really love all the different options. And for the pupils of the eyes, I also have 2 different sizes, and my monster will be looking up. To finish off the monster, I'm adding some horns, and I cut these out from the gold holographic paper included in Scrapbook.com's holographic mirror paper pad, so they're super sparkly. Put just that tiny bit of glue on the back and adhere the 2 horns on the top of the monster's head. So there is my little monster all assembled. I think she is absolutely adorable. Nothing scary about this monster. Wasn't sure if I wanted to add the monster in the center of the card or on the right or left side. But after looking at the background of the card, I decided it needed a little bit of gold sparkle. Using the same metallic gold ink from Scrapbook.com, I'll press a tiny bit on an acrylic block, spritz it with water, use a paintbrush, mix up that solution, and gently tap my paintbrush over the background. So now I have this beautiful gold splatter. And since that gold splatter is the same gold ink I use for the leaves, it all matches beautifully. Once the gold ink has dried, I'll add my monster on the card, but first I'll pop her up using some foam dimension. I'm using the small foam squares in the 1mm thickness. This is my favorite foam dimension since it doesn't add a lot of extra bulk. I'll make sure to get good coverage, remove the release paper, then I'll add my little monster on the right side of the card in the lower right-hand corner. So now it's time to add all the beautiful gold autumn leaves. I know the leaves would come from a variety of different trees. You'll only see the one branch on the left-hand side, but we'll just assume the monster is standing underneath a bunch of different trees and the leaves are all falling down around her. So I'll randomly adhere the leaves down. Thought about popping them up, but instead I'll glue them down using Scrapbook.com's Artiste glue. Fall cards are some of my favorite to make. I know a lot of people are busy working on Halloween cards right now, and I still need to make a few more Halloween cards for the year. But since it's the end of August and almost September, I think it's time to get working on some fall cards. For the first set of leaves, I laid them down on the card. Now, one by one, I'll put glue on the back and adhere them in place. And I still have several other leaves in the stack and sort tray. So now I'll add a few more leaves, filling in some of those blank areas. And a few of the leaves I'll also have going off the edge of the card. I'll put glue on the back of the area that will be attached on the card, adhere it down, flip over the card, use my scissors, and trim off the overhang. I still had 2 yellow leaves left over, but I think I have enough leaves on my card. For a sentiment, I'm adding "Wishing you a happy fall," and this is included on Scrapbook.com's pumpkin spice stamp set, and I also have the coordinating dies. I stamped it on the same sand cardstock color. I used Scrapbook.com's dark chocolate ink color. Then I cut it out using the coordinating die. And just so it stands out a little bit more against that bottom portion of the card, I'll ink up the edge of the sentiment using Distress Oxide ground espresso ink. Now I'll put glue on the back and adhere the sentiment in the lower left-hand corner. So there is my finished card. I love how this turned out. The monster looks super happy standing underneath all the lovely fall leaves. If you're interested in any of the products I used in this video, there are links in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.